envy it doesn't suit you, Caesar. Hello and welcome to the Sunday Club after our relaxing Sunday break. Not Sunday, actually, summer break. That was a long Sunday if it was a Sunday break.
Sunday Club after
Oh
a
God! Again,
relaxing
well, I'm glad
Sunday
the
break.
tech
Not Sunday,
issues have
actually, summer.
not left us as yet. So that's good. There's some consistency in our lives. Well, welcome. And it's been a while since we've met here, and today we're going to have a packed house. Since nobody is good at keeping time, IST or Indian stretchable time, half of our panel is not here. Only Pallavi had the courtesy to say that she's joining at 9:20, but that's just because, it's not 9:20, 7:20. I'm sorry, I'm jet lagged, so all my timings are all messed up. You know how it is. I mean, Abhijit and all don't know how it is, but I'm sure my viewers.
चल फुटते रहे हम सबको पता है तू अपनी नेटिव गांव गई थी अरे
And what is this Pallavi Ghosh? What is Pallavi Ghosh so busy with in any case?
She
You know,
has a
Bertrand
job.
Russell famously said, if you need to get something done, give it to the busiest man. Because a person who does nothing never has the time.
She has a
Pallavi
job.
is involved in her Khap Panchayat. There's a Khap Panchayat going on, so she had to be there. And it turns out that
always in some ugly car, always trying to be a Kaushik Basu, talking to a cabbie.
exactly. And I found out something important. This Advaita Kala, she pretends to be from UK. I mean, realistically, she even admits she's from Uttarakhand, not from UK. Now it turns out she's not even that, yaar. It turns out she's a Haryanvi. Her real name is Jaba Kusum Chaudhary.
No. I'm actually half UP. Nobody brings up my half UP side, but I'm Advaita Misra Kala.
There are so many very splits to your personality. We don't know what halves and what quarters there are.
And there's Professor Sengupta, looking very groomed. I want to congratulate
He also
Professor.
dyed his hair.
He's married. He got married.
No, I'm saying he dyed his hair. You're saying he's gotten married. I mean, what kind of logic?
Yeah, because he's gotten married, he's dyed his hair. What else? Anyway.
Arre?
No correction.
Kuch bhi.
He can't hear us also. This is really good. Huh? Wonderful.
And there's Tuli Sahab. Always his
And
name
then
is in
Rajiv Tuli. What is it? It's Rajneetik Visheshagya. Okay.
Vishleshak. So much for half UP. Can't even read Hindi.
Illiterate. Total illiterate.
Welcome back, Advaita and English Grammar Police. Seriously, no, they've moved on to Hindi. Now they're experts at Hindi, but what to do? I mean, they've all been here the last couple of months. So, unlike me, I've been out and about.
अरे ओ भाग्यवान अपने बारे में बात करना बंद कर और टॉपिक के बारे में बात करना शुरू कर.
Okay, let's go. Vice President pick is out, and it left everyone shocked because there was all this conjecture. I was following it online. Some people were saying Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi might be the VP pick. Some said our Arif Khan, governor of Kerala, might be the VP pick, and then finally the VP pick was one of our most voluble governors, I think, from West Bengal, who has really, started really took Mamta on a lot of occasions, and is a tough man. Definitely speaks his mind, and he's our governor pick. So Suhel said, let's start with you. I believe you also know him personally, so it would be wonderful to get a little insight into him.
So, number one, he is unarguably a very, very fine legal mind. Obviously, whatever is known in the public domain is known. He hails from Rajasthan, farmer family, blah, blah, blah. But, even when he took on Mamata Banerjee, it was within the prism of the constitution and within legality. So even when he took her on, all his tweets, everything was all linked to please do your constitutional duty. It was almost as if a headmaster is reprimanding the student saying, listen, don't fall out of line. This is the constitution. A. B. Being in Bengal, being in a minority in the sense that, Mamata is ruling the roost there, the kind of abuse that was heaped on him, the kind of embarrassments that were heaped on him. Many a time he would call for a meeting You'd ask the state chief secretary to come and no one would show up. The police commissioner of Calcutta would not show up because obviously they were, dancing to Mamta's tunes. He never got upset. So the second quality in him is dhairya. He's an extremely stable, patient human being, which, by the way, will stand him in great stead in Rajya Sabha. Because Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha now are almost like akhadas, not intellectual akhadas, but they are akhadas where people are shouting, abusing, doing all kinds of nonsense. So that will stand him in good stead. Third, he's an outstandingly well-read human being. And I give a lot of credence to scholarship. With scholarship comes gravitas. It also allows you to see and observe and perhaps assimilate a contrarian view. So I think in all respects, Modi again pulled it out of the bag. No one had expected this. In fact, the last time I spoke to Mr. Dhankar there was a friend of mine visiting from Australia. They run the largest education for charity group. And I messaged him at about 12:30 in the afternoon. He says, look, why don't you tell him to drop by for tea? He says, if they can do things in Bengal, we'd be really happy with slum children. So, even though the guy is governor, his thinking was always for the poor and the deprived. So I think it's a great choice. And Margaret Alva will once again, rush back to Karnataka, but that's how it is.
And Sandip, what does this say about the political side of it? You know that, the BJP and the TMC have been on the warpath for very long now. And he was definitely someone who did not have a good relationship with Mamata Banerjee. In fact, it was one that was written with a lot of conflict. Do you think there's any messaging here in terms of, picking him as the NDA VP candidate?
See, personally, Advaita, I've been telling everybody, I think it'll be a mistake or I think it's inaccurate to see him with the narrow prism of his whole Bengal relationship. Bengal, he may have, to some extent, what he did there, and obviously it's therefore clear. Sometimes people used to think that, he's an unguided missile and, he's a Lone Ranger doing on his own, but it's very clear now that he was acting to a brief. And so that could have earned his spurs and the confidence to put him in this job. But I would not restrict it to anything with those equations. I don't think determines a big appointment or a big nomination like being the vice president or the chairman of the Rajya Sabha. The chairman of the Rajya Sabha, I think, contrary to some of my friends on Twitter who disagreed with me, I think the biggest concern Modi would have is to manage, the floor. People like Mr. Seth's friend Derek O'Brien of the world, and navigate most of the bills and everything through there. So that is going to be his main charge, and that is what Venkaiah Naidu did very well. And I personally expect to see Jagdeep Dhankar change his style between how he used to operate. He used to be a governor on Twitter in Bengal because nobody used to meet him. Nobody would turn up for his meeting or even respond to his letter. So he used to go on tweeting about all his points. I don't expect him to manage Rajya Sabha through tweeting. When Derek O'Brien is shouting, send a tweet out to Derek. That's not what he's going to do. So he's going to change his way. And so that is, I think, the biggest thing. I also don't make too much out of the fact about this whole the Jat and the Haryana card, which people are talking about, the caste card, etc. They could have, if they wanted a Jat, they could have got many of that variety, including Abhijit or Pallavi. But that's not the point which I think they were. they were trying to get there. So while that could be a factor, that will in fact put, to some extent, the Congress and the opposition on the defensive. But I don't think that was a driving force. Somebody said, if this guy, Satpal Malik, would not have really acted, he could have been also a good choice. When he had been sent to Kashmir, obviously he enjoyed the confidence. That's a very, very tricky posting. But thereafter he blew up the chances. Otherwise, if the Jat factor, that was it. He could have been a choice. But it's very surprising. I don't think anybody, barring a few in the last one day, they had some whiff of it. Nobody had a clue, and he didn't fit into any kind of calculus. Not putting. This is a real wild card entry. It doesn't really, even in hindsight, to explain how the decision was arrived at is difficult.
Abhijit, to play the devil's advocate here, he is a political. I mean, all governors are political in some way or the other, but he's certainly very vociferous. Now, in his role, should he get elected, he will have to handle a very contentious Rajya Sabha, as just elucidated by Sandip. Is he going to be able to do it? Is there going to be personal animus? Is that going to spill onto the floor of the upper house? Because Venkaiah Naidu ji was of course a very senior political leader from the BJP, but he was kind of pleasant and got along with everybody and shepherded the proceedings, so to speak.
And he had, sorry to interrupt, and he also had a stature, so he could get away by telling Renuka Chaudhary, if there's a problem, go and see a doctor. Don't keep laughing here. He could get away with that sort of a thing, which Dhankar would obviously have that leeway.
Yeah.
Unmute yourself.
Unmute yourself, although we like you on mute, but...
Shocking. By the way, you can't call me Abhijit. You have to refer to me, you have to say Hail Caesar or Ave Caesar, as is the correct form of address. And please don't make eye contact with me. Always look down. You're not my equal, so don't get ahead of Caesar.
I understand that you did have your European sojourn or your room holiday this time round, so you have to fake it till you make it, which is what you're doing.
Sure.
Faking it
Better
till
than
you
going
make
to
it.
Ghaziabad and claiming I went to New York.
Oh,
Okay.
please.
So anyway, but the main thing here is, familiarity can be an asset, but it can also be a liability. And in Venkaiah Naidu's case, the thing was he was buddies with everybody. He's a very, very affable guy who gets along with everybody. So he might have been able to tell Renuka Naidu, is something wrong with you? Please go to the hospital if you need to. But he could never really crack a whip. Dhankar comes with a reputation of cracking whips. Okay, this is number one. And if you look at the context in which this has come, this government has been supine dancing to a liberal, or at least trying to appease liberals for the last 8 years. Something cracked during or after the Agnipath protests, where they've thrown Teesta in jail, they've thrown R.B. Srikumar in jail, they've thrown Zubair in jail, and they've decided to get tough on Mamta. Okay, so this comes with a shrinking space for any of this familiarity and congeniality and all of that. This is part one. Part two, remember, what was Dhankar doing? I would very much push back on this notion that he is a cantankerous governor. What was he cantankerous in response to? The slaughter of BJP workers and the police inaction or actual acquiescence in the killings in Bengal, which is what a governor is meant to do. Do you remember Vajpayee had to admonish Modi during the 2002 riot saying, Raj Dharm Karo? Right? So, what has Mr. Dhankar said that is in any way different to what Vajpayee said? He said the same thing. Like Suhel pointed out, he's used very, very constitutional language to say X, Y, Z. Now, the thing is, Derek O'Brien might be in a bit of soup. He's Rajya Sabha, no, Derek?
Yeah.
He might be in a bit of soup because I suspect he's going to get cut down quite brutally. The problem, of course, is poor Derek is not in the limelight anymore. These days, when people want to invite TMC, they only invite Mahua Maitra. And, of course, for that reason, Derek hates Mahua Maitra. Because remember, TMC was Derek as far as Delhi was concerned. Now TMC is Mahua as far as Delhi is concerned.
Yeah.
And Derek is going to get the one place where he could be free of Mahua Maitra. he is now straddled with Dhankar, where he won't even be able to speak, or at least as much as he'd like to. Poor man, I really pity him. I think the person who's taken this the hardest isn't Mamta Banerjee. Mamta Banerjee would actually be thankful that he's no longer in Bengal. And the person most upset with this is going to be Derek O'Brien.
See, Abhijit, I wouldn't attach too much
That he
importance to
carries
that.
any kind of personal animus. I doubt he carries that animus because he was just doing his constitutional duties. But that's where I'm going to settle this particular selection.
But you see, Derek, before Doc comes in, that those are all superficial things you're talking about. Iyer-Mitra may get called to parties or those sort of places to go and speak. She's that kind of a what you will call a more visible face. But actual work for Trinamool would be done by other people. Whatever work is being done there, she's not going to carry the party's agenda out there. She could be carrying her own agenda. To that extent, at least Derek had had developed over the years some amount of connections and network across parties at the political level. But I think the two are in a different league. Derek would be obviously upset at not getting the limelight. People like you giving more attention to Moma, but other than that, substantively, I don't think such an issue.
Okay.
Yes, Doctor.
Yeah. Look,
Professor.
Professor, before you come in, I want to add one more question. Like Abhijit said that this selection has sort of drawn the line on this backpatting and all that scenario post the Agnivir protest. Is that good for democracy? That now in the upper house, where you're supposed to have people of a certain stature there, although that's debatable because we've seen what goes on there, this could be in jeopardy.
I'm not too sure any whip is being cracked right as now. You see, look at the Rajya Sabha. The government of the day does not have a majority in the Rajya Sabha. Okay, it's in a minority. It is because of certain friendly parties which are not part of the government. For example, the Biju Janata Dal, sometimes the YSR Congress, sometimes other parties, that you're able to carry through legislation in the Rajya Sabha. Of course, major amendments become tricky, but then, they can be managed. So under those circumstances where you do not have a majority in the Rajya Sabha, cracking a whip, I think, is slightly difficult. It would be foolish to do. Now, why is Jagdeep Dhankar ideal for this particular job? Because remember, he started his career with the Janata Dal United. So he already knows quite a few of the opposition people, having been in the same party. In the 89 to 91, he used to be the Janata Dal MP from Rajasthan. So he would know quite a few Janata Dal Samajwadi people from the other states also. Which is not to say that they would acquiesce in any bill that was being passed by the government. What they would not do out of deference to Jagdeep Dhankar, etc., would not to create ruckus in the house so that proceedings get stalled. So I think in that sense, his background is appropriate. He started with those parties. He is now, of course, with the BJP. Secondly, as I think Suhel pointed out, he is a very good lawyer, constitutionally very correct, does not stand on ceremony. I know because I've been on certain committees with him. He happens to be the patron of a particular institute in Calcutta. I am a part of the governing society. He does not stand on ceremony. And at the end of the day, what I've noticed is when there's a very boisterous crowd, he is able, to bring everybody together and come up with a joint statement. So that is something that he will require out there. Now, talk about Venkaiah Naidu's, there are certain liberties that Venkaiah Naidu could take with certain people. No, he would not be able to take those particular liberties. But the fact that he knows the rules inside out, the fact that he's a very good lawyer, the fact that he has equations with other opposition members, I think would enable him to manage this house particularly well. And you can't take offense at what he does. I remember he came back from a very difficult day in West Bengal. He had gone to Jadavpur University, and A crowd was organized to heckle him, threaten him with physical violence, and he came back all merry. A guy like that, cannot be made upset by Rajya Sabha elders. There is, I hate to say things about Suhel Seth's alma mater, but there are few people as unpleasant as a obnoxious Jadavpur University crowd, especially the radical crowd. They can be extremely obnoxious, they can be extremely personal. And that is the crowd that Jagdeep Dhankar faced for 3 hours. He was get out, comes back, and he conducts the meeting as if nothing had happened. All jokes and humor. That is what the Rajya Sabha needs, at least what the BJP needs in a person who has to handle the Rajya Sabha. And I believe he will do it well. Cracking the whip, I believe, is not on the government's agenda. But yes, controlling certain people is. And that way, I agree with Abhijit in the sense that a lot of people use the Rajya Sabha floor for their polemics. Derek O'Brien certainly being one. I have a feeling from time to time, Dhankar will do what Venkaiah Naidu did not do. He will basically interrupt or make an intervention, making light of the entire thing, and as a result of which, Derek O'Brien's grandiose grandstanding will basically crash. He will do it. He has that mischief in him, and that's good humored mischief. Some of his repartees, some of his comments.
Basically, the Rajya Sabha is going to get a lot more TRP worthy. Is one thing that we're heading towards. Okay, Suhel shaking his head. Go ahead, Suhel.
Derek has never been discussed so much in a TV program lately.
For Dipankar to paint everyone with the same brush. I totally agree. Jadavpur University has had its fair share of louts, but so does every place, including Jammu University. B.
But these louts have intellectual pretensions. My louts
totally
don't have
agree.
intellectual
But
pretensions.
that's 80% of all universities in Bengal. Each guy thinks he's Tagore's progeny and protege. The other half think they belong to Subhash Chandra Bose. So, it's par for the course. Having said that, I genuinely believe that you have to understand Modi from a perspective of he's a futurist. See, the problem is all these political parties operate in the immediate or in the short term. He operates in the long term. So he has the ability to see and navigate what's going to happen long term. Okay. Some joker in your comment section said that I asked for Modi's resignation when Shiv Sena MLAs were camping in Assam. Yes, because at that point in time, it was very clear that the BJP had engineered it, although the BJP was in denial. And later it turned out that BJP had engineered it. So this joker, whoever his name is, Santani Yodha, whatever the hell these jokers are called, should get his answer. Now, coming to the issue on hand. The issue on hand is very simple. Has Modi done a master stroke in getting Jagdeep Dhankar? The answer is yes. What will his role in the Rajya Sabha be? His role in the Rajya Sabha will be to temper the kind of nonsense that we have been seeing because of Venkaiah Naidu's niceness. Please remember that people in Rajya Sabha, as much as in Lok Sabha, take kindness for weakness. And they've been rough riding shot over the previous chairperson, in this case being Venkaiah Naidu. It's not going to happen with Jagdeep. B. He's not the rabble-rousing type. He's not the type who's going to get into an argument. He's just going to throw the rule book at you. The rule book allows you to actually have someone thrown out within the purview of the rules. That's what people need to be scared of. See, it will be very precise surgery in what Jagdeep Dhankar does. It is not going to be easy. So the Derek O'Briens or whoever it is need to be careful that the rule book will be thrown at them, but in a very calm and precise and surgical manner. It'll be done with firmness, so there's no debate about whether action will be taken or not. But it will not be taken out of anger, it will be taken out of calmness. As for Margaret Allen's opposition, you've seen what's happening. I cannot for the life of me understand why should they have candidates and why should those candidates self-embarrass? Yashwant Sinha is nothing but an embarrassment of himself. and to himself. Margaret Alva is going to face the same fate. I don't know why they do it. Is it a post-retirement thing? Is it a sinecure disease? I don't know what it is.
Rajiv ji, thank you. And Ratan Sharda ji has just joined us finally. We're discussing Dhankar ji's, of course, nomination as candidate. And wanted to actually now, I think this is a good segue because we have two people, Dr. Ratan Sharda ji and Rajiv Tuli ji, who have, actively and closely watched the BJP and the RSS. And Yashwant Sinha, who was an elderly statesman kind of leader, been finance minister in the Atal Bihari Vajpayee government. Ratanji, suddenly now he's he uses even abusive language. He's uses cuss words on social media. I don't know. I mean, what is going down there? It's a complete meltdown, and it's a little sad to watch, isn't it?
Well, first of all, thanks very much for inviting me here after a long, long time. And this time also, hi everybody, Suhel, Sandip, Rajiv, Pallavi. I've
always be on the right side of the RSS. It's the right side sung. If you're on the right side, you're fine.
Advaita was wrong. Actually, I look at Congress as seriously as I look at BJP. So I am not really a BJP watcher. I'm more of a national watcher. Well, I think Yashwant Sinha is a frustrated old man, honestly speaking. And when he was a statesman, I don't know. He was an IAS-turned politician, and he was given a very good regard and very good position in BJP. And he should have enjoyed the wonderful reputation he got through BJP. And unfortunately, people don't realize when their time is up. This is the problem in politics. You don't know when to retire. It's like, when they say in cricket that you should quit when people will ask, why did you quit? Rather than quitting when people say, why doesn't he quit? So he has reached the stage of high frustration and no value addition. And he has become a bakra of this opposition party, agreeing to be an opposition candidate. And opposition doesn't realize, as time and again I've seen that Modi has infinite capacity to surprise people, to surprise political observers, so-called analysts who seem to know everything what is happening inside, right from the earliest times from 2014 onwards. And lesson for opposition is to keep wait for Modi to make the first move. Unfortunately, they make a move, end up being checkmated by Modi ji so easily. So that is the problem. And I think Yashwant Sinha, we should not discuss the poor chap. I think he has gone in a very graceless manner. He will end his political career in a very graceless manner. He has no link whatsoever, no kind of any equation with TMC where he's ended up. I think that's the worst place to be. And especially at this time of the political move when there is kind of very, very bitter polarized fight in the election, in the politics. Not a good sign, but that is what it is. And he has joined a party which has no national presence, will never have a national presence. And Abhijit, nice crown. Are there some thorns in that?
I am a Jesus-like. I bear a crown of thorns.
Oh my God. So good.
He just wants attention all the time.
Pallavi, we were just discussing the opposition candidates and Margaret Alva's name.
Advaita, did you see the comment on Mr. Sharda? I don't know whether it's a qualification or disqualification. He's brought in some gravitas.
God, it says he's bringing the much needed dignity to this panel. So what were you
It's surprising that the comment comes just before Pallavi starts speaking.
Oh yeah, right.
So opposition candidate is who? Who is the VP candidate?
Margaret Alva.
That's a good name. Though she may not win, it's a good name. She's a good lady, I think. She could have been a presidential candidate much better as a presidential candidate. Graceful loser at least. She would have lost with a lot of grace.
No, but I was thinking if they had to choose a woman, then how come the opposition did not even realize that, and this is something which we all knew, that at least a woman is likely to become the government's presidential candidate, and Margaret Alva could have been one of those choices. I mean, you're using her as a vice president. I don't know. I really think that, I think this was a lost opportunity by the opposition. At least to try to put up a semblance of a fight.
Yeah. She has good grace. She has good political career behind us. behind her, I think she would have been much better as a presidential candidate. Rather than, now after it's, I think it's an afterthought. They realize she's still around.
Isn't that a stereotype you put up of a female candidate versus a female candidate?
Exactly.
I mean, that's like, you kind of pitch two women vis-a-vis each other.
No,
Look
I
at
am not
Abhijit
a
always
woman.
smiling.
I'm
Why
talking of
why
her as
is
a
that bad?
politician. I
Why
am
is that
talking of her as
bad?
a politician and as a time when she had a very good political presence. I'm not talking of her as a woman only. And the way Yashwant Sinha is chosen, that is a big, huge crack in the face of opposition, which has lost all face because of his candidature.
Rajiv Tuli ji is also with us. Rajiv ji, the other thing that is, we are really talking about presidents, vice presidents today. Rajiv ji, one thing that has really exploded has been the accusations on Vice President Hamid Ansari. And it's really something that has, captured the imagination. So I want to really ask for your perspective on this, and then even bring in Pallavi after you, in terms of Ahmed Patel's name being brought in. He's obviously not here to defend his name and his involvement or non-involvement in this particular issue. So why is this gaining so much traction at this point of time?
No, two things. One is अभी जो सब लोग वाइस प्रेसिडेंशियल कैंडिडेट का नाम डिस्कस कर रहे थे, आई थिंक द वे वी वर एक्सप्लेनिंग, कोई और नाम होता तो इससे बढ़िया एक्सप्लेनेशन हो जाती. सो बिकॉज द डिसीजन हैज ऑलरेडी बीन टेकन, we can see the writing clear on the wall that he is going to win hands down, and probably one after the second. There are two scapegoats now. One is यशवंत सिन्हा, जिनको बेचारे को आगे करके उनके नीचे पैरों के नीचे की जमीन ही खींच ली, और उनको पता भी नहीं लगा कि उनके साथ क्या हुआ. Second is the Margaret Alva. I don't know from where the name have been brought. So rather than Narendra Modi, it is the so-called united, ununited, whatever the Congress, opposition is. They surprise people more than the ruling dispensation. This is what I believe in. So Margaret Alva has not been seen in public life for such a long time. Pallavi can throw more light on this. Probably for last so many years, nobody, the only thing people know about her now is that उनके जो दो बेटे हैं, वो एक निरेत अलवा, वो अपनी एक कंपनी चलाते हैं, और वो कंपनी मेडिटेक जो है वो एक दो अच्छे सीरियल्स बनाती है. मुझे नहीं लगता इसके अलावा there is anything else left about that name. So Jagdeep Dhakkar, yes, I think I see a big change in BJP or NDA's, the policy. अभी तक probably in last 8 years शायद कोई एक या दो नाम ऐसे हैं जो ऐसी किसी इम्पोर्टेंट पोजीशन पर हैं जो which is a bit if I can put the word non-ideological background. One may be the Hemant Biswa Sarma or some another of the CNs. Then probably this is the first name. Though I mean for last almost 10-15 years, Dhankar ji has been guiding the team of Shri Ram Janmabhoomi case also. He was a part of that team also. I met him in 2013 probably here in Delhi in Sagar Apartments in his office. So, but other than that, I believe he's a thorough gentleman to the core, yes, with very good sense of humor, yes, very witty and grounded also. आप में से जिन लोगों ने उनके साथ बैठ करके बात की होगी, the kind of examples or the kind of quotes or anecdotes that he are really very those are really very very एकदम जिसको वो भदेस बोलते हैं ना, एकदम गाँव की भाषा में और वैसा सब. So he he knows a lot of things other than probably the constitution, the law. That is one part of it. That overall, this is a big deviation for BJP for such a big constitutional post. Like earlier, it was being said कि बीजेपी किसी भी ऐसे ऐसे व्यक्ति को कोई ऐसी की पोजीशन पर प्रोबेबली नहीं लेकर के आएगी जो थोड़ा सा नॉन आइडियोलॉजिकल बैकग्राउंड का रहेगा. So this is one big deviation. Now coming to Hamid Ansari, I think Hamid Ansari there were things that people knew about him, but somehow it was not coming to public domain. That is one part of it. Ahmed Patel, everybody knew, and most of the journalists who are here in Delhi, वो जो 30 लाख रुपया देने का एक वो इंस्टांस है. So a lot of journalists here in Delhi covering the Congress or the even otherwise are were very well obliged by him in whatever way he could have. Cash is one part of it, and the helping them with the admissions of their kids if they have a problem in their job, helping them professionally, trying to put as many people as he can do in media houses. All the people who were covering the Congress earlier are now more or less the editors or the managing editors of the different channels. So वो अलग-अलग ढंग से बहुत सारे तरीकों से then Pallavi, I know you are feeling embarrassed also, but this is what it is. So Code bole भी थोड़ा he is also giving a weird kind of smile. So you all know what was happening or what was happening till Ahmed Patel was there looking at the things and managing the things for Congress. But yes, why it has come, one can be the timing. थोड़ा सा तो जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट का अभी लेटेस्ट ऑब्जर्वेशन आया, डिसीजन आया, that played one part, but then yes, there are other political reasons also. हिंदी में एक कहावत है, राजनीति में जो मुर्दे हैं उनको जलाया नहीं जाता, उनको कबर्ड में रखा जाता है, जरूरत पड़ने पर निकाला जाता है. तो अभी थोड़ा मौका भी है, दस्तूर भी है, इस कारण से जो गड़े हुए मुर्दे हैं वो निकाले भी जा रहे हैं, उखाड़े भी जा रहे हैं और सामने रखे भी जा रहे हैं. So this is politics is all about timing, and so the timing is just apt and right. Everybody knows that also. So my take on both these things is that this was there, and this was very obvious and clearly written on the wall, but somebody needed to read it. So that has been done at the right timing, which is very important in the politics.
Advaita.
Okay.
She's frozen.
Pallavi, coming into the opposition sort of response to this, Jay.
I think
You're on mute, Sandip. You're on mute.
What happened?
Advaita's gone back to her old poor.
पैसा बनाने के बाद माइक्रोफोन नहीं होता.
माइक्रोफोन नहीं, इंटरनेट नहीं है अभिजीत.
I think Sandip being on mute is a good idea.
नहीं मेरा तो इंटरनेट है, इंटरनेट है. I think Advaita is the only one who's having trouble with her internet.
Yeah.
That छोड़ा ही Wi-Fi America.
Maybe they should when she was away.
I think we invest more on internet connectivity than Advaita does actually.
Yeah.
You people are so disgusting, nasty. First she's letting you on her show, and then this is the ungrateful. I've told her to get new guests.
बहुत मेहरबानी कर दी. Thank you. अरे
Pallavi, we are not being paid for coming on the show. We are coming for free, and whatever money is going to Advaita for putting the diesel in XUV 700.
Yes.
No.
And whatever she's putting all the money in getting that diesel
Abhijit has that
car tanked up, and she's not putting a single penny on the internet.
Exactly. It's extremely shocking. And see,
Teaser, by the
whole
way, you
thing
know
is
what is meaning of Godbole? Godbole
it's a
is
Marathi
a person
surname.
who speaks sweetly. That's Marathi
one minute.
meaning.
Is
That is
Advaita
the
back?
most costly person to use a surname like Godbole. You don't speak sweet, so you should change the surname.
No, 1 minute. Now, who's
There is
going to
another
be
saying called
moderating?
Port Dukhe. Port Dukhe means
Moderating
whose
this?
stomach is always paining.
Who's
That's whatever.
coordinating? Nobody's coordinating.
Now, who's going to moderate this?
Pallavi, take over.
My God, this looks scary, yeah, with that laugh.
Pallavi,
Yeah,
now
now
take
who's
over the
moderating?
Oh God.
Yeah, who's
No, but
moderating?
So
Pallavi,
look at this.
diverting
This
it.
is what happens when the class
Ansari.
teacher is out of the class.
I think
okay, I
Pallavi
think
should
Advaita,
speak
no,
about Hamid
we are very,
Ansari, please.
No,
we are
you
very
take over.
unfair on
Pallavi
Advaita.
can take over
No,
from here.
please
Pallavi, you can.
No, I just want. Okay,
Ahmed
so
Patel
I think.
acquisition.
I think more than Ahmed Patel. You know, I'm watching a tweet. In fact, his daughter is just tweeting, and she's very feisty. Feisty. Suhel, correct me.
Feisty.
Okay,
Feisty.
And yeah, and so she's going on and asking, do you have a SIT on when other governments fall? See, Ahmed Patel ka point by the government, I think, is more to target the Gandhis. I mean, 21st ko usko ED jana hai. And I think it's also an attempt by the BJP to remind that how the Prime Minister has always been targeted, witch hunted, how the Congress never wanted him to, say, for example, to go to America. They ensured he never got a visa. I think it's just going to build up the sympathy factor and this narrative. But I really want to know one thing is, forget president, vice president. Are governor kaun banega West Bengal ka? That's the most important job there.
No, 1 minute. I want to say 2 or 3 things here. I have no issues with someone being dead or alive if that person should or shouldn't be the subject of an investigation. So, for the Congress to say because Ahmed Patel is no longer amidst us, there should be no investigation is stupid. A. B. For 8 years that the Congress was in power, every commission of inquiry was set up against Narendra Damodar Das Modi. Judges, people, activists, everyone. If that man could tolerate it, if that man didn't create a ruckus about going to the ED office or going here or there, are these people privileged? Do they own the country? Are they entitled? Bullshit, they're not. They're as normal citizens as anyone should be. In fact, they're privileged because we are paying for their homes and their residence. Number 3, no one is saying Ahmed Patel is guilty. They're saying he should be the subject matter of investigation. So, if he comes through that investigation clearly or cleanly, there's no issue. But why does the Congress believe that any investigation that they should be part of is already an investigation that is in muddied waters or that is biased or premeditated? Why? By that logic, you can't investigate them at all. I mean, they're not above the law in this country. And this has been happening for far too long. And this is going to happen with other political parties as well, where parties believe they're above the law and cannot be investigated. So I think this whole Ahmed Patel thing, BJP should give a very clear and lucid response. This is the subject matter of an investigation. When we were investigated, we didn't protest. Why doth the lady protest too much? Simple. And in this case, it's the lady doth protest too much.
And this is getting this has been ruling the at least social media and the news channels for the last 2 weeks. Abhijit, you kind of spoke about Teesta Seetalvad
now about the West Bengal governor, it'll be either Arif Mohammed Khan, who they will move from Kerala, or perhaps Mukhtar Naqvi Abbas.
Who, by the way, speaks fluent Bengali. Which is what Sandip pointed out, right?
Suhel said is the right person.
Abbas, Naqvi. I think Naqvi's wife.
He appreciates good English. He can converse well with Mamta Didi.
No, and I speak fluent Bengali.
That's why I said.
Better than Pallavi.
Yeah. He speaks Jat. That's it.
One issue, this.
I don't want to take names, but before this show, I received some messages from Sunday clubbers saying things like, let's finish Pallavi this Sunday club, let's take her on. and things
Where are
like
those
that.
messages?
So
Show us.
disgusting. I
No,
know
show
who
us.
those people
You
are.
are a typical rabble rouser. You show us these messages. Yeah,
I'm
no,
just
you
telling
put them on
I
screen.
know this is true.
You put
Suhel,
them on screen.
why?
This, you
Suhel,
are
why
the
getting
Edina
defensive?
Mountbatten of our times.
It's not
I
you.
think this is
I'm
a
saying it's
good
you.
vibes only
You
channel. We
are.
don't do these kind of things. So
Yeah.
please don't
Suhel,
make
why
these
are
dirty
you getting so
politics.
defensive? Is what I want to know.
Yeah, Suhel, why so defensive?
She's Advaita
This is
Seetalvad.
Advaita trying to divide and rule. And you know how capable Advaita is. She can't manage the internet. How will she divide and rule?
Question पूछ रही थी.
Advaita, we offered her the post of
Ah.
anchor in your place. What can be more
Acha,
graceful?
listen, I will.
Just Pallavi's gone.
No.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All the anchors or would-be anchors have very bad net connection. There's something wrong.
everybody's an anchor on this show. But Abhijit, I was asking about Teesta.
I think Pallavi should tell something about the relations of the journalist around Ahmed Patel and like so how it used to work. What was it? Was it there? Wasn't it something?
She's
Yeah.
already in the bad books of the Congress Communication Department. You want her to be now somebody giving a supari against her to reveal these secrets.
She's already banned from covering
know.
Congress. She's not doing that. You can easily comment on this now.
If she
Advaita,
starts
what's the
revealing
question?
these details,
Yeah,
then you know
Abhijit, Caesar. Teesta Seetalvad. You know, this has been going on all of these last 2 weeks. And you had also mentioned in a tweet that she's really upset because all the attention seems to be shifting to Zubair.
So, see, here's the thing. Teesta is the original villain in this piece. Okay, but and I suspect the way the dominoes fall, I think we've all known for a very long time that there was a full-on industry set up to defame and somehow get Modi in jail for one reason or another. I think the real skeletons in the closet will start tumbling out when they start investigating the graveyard thing. You know, the mass grave allegation and things like that, which apparently was completely created by certain people to deliberately frame, as in it was planted evidence in that sense.
Wow.
That said, see, this works out in two separate ways for Teesta. One, she may get away with it because there isn't enough attention on her. On the other hand, I think she is very upset that she is no longer the poster child and Zubair is. On the third angle, this is particularly bad for the opposition because they don't know where to concentrate their PR and their money. Who are they meant to get out? It's three people in deep soup: Shri Kumar, Teesta, and Zubair. Where do they send their big guns? Because remember, all these big shot lawyers who say I'm doing this pro bono and all of that, none of it is pro bono, boss. This all goes into the favor bank for Rajya Sabha seats or board memberships and whatnot later down the line. So please spare me the pro bono crap. There isn't a single fellow who fought for the Congress on these Congress affiliated pro bono cases that did not get some reward, including the most thoroughly useless types like Kumar Ketkar. You remember Kumar Ketkar, who used to keep coming on TV? And now where is Kumar Ketkar? After they gave him Rajya Sabha, they're now sitting and thinking, isko kyo humne Rajya Sabha diya? He doesn't even defend us anymore. He got Rajya Sabha, then he shut up.
Yeah, it's totally quiet. But Pallavi, to go back to Teesta Seetalvad, the media played a huge role in kind of building her up as this vigilante for justice for years and years and years. She was like the one voice that was standing up. She became this cause celebre. There was Padma Shri that was given to her, etc., etc. What was, if you could just take us back to those years where Teesta Seetalvad became this sort of figure that was crusading for justice.
My only thing is a section of the media. The same section of the media are defending Teesta Seetalvad. They are the ones who defend, say, Zubair. They are the ones who think that they are the ones who are keeping the champions of things right. See, I mean, also look at the time. I mean, even today I saw an article by Mr. Chidambaram where he says, I am Mohammed Zubair. And then he goes on to talk about, giving facts out to the government on on the state or the economy and so on. I think it is also very much timed with the UPA times. There's no doubt about the fact that the Congress actually thought that Teesta Seetalvad was actually a whistleblower. She's the one who's exposed Modi. And I think it was in sync with the Gandhis. I know personal dislike for Narendra Modi. It is actually a personal dislike because whenever we kind of used to meet, not now, when they were in power until very recently, when Rahul Gandhi would meet us and Sonia Gandhi would meet us, what was very, very clear is that she actually personally declines. It's not just a political fight, it's more a personal fight. So I think that's the reason why they supported people like Teesta Seetalvad, despite the fact that there was always a section of the Congress party who would caution, they would meet us off record. In fact, I'll tell you very interestingly on Zubair, there are so many Congress leaders who actually tell us that why is the party making such a big mistake? Why are they making him to be a champion of free speech? It's going to boomerang on us. And it's got nothing to do with the fact that he's anti-BJP or pro-BJP or we are anti-BJP. They feel that these people are suspect and we should not blindly support them. So I think this whole narrative of a Teesta Seetalvad and so on and so forth was actually more in sync with the Gandhi's dislike for the Prime Minister, personal dislike, I would say.
Pallavi, I would just add to that. I was just thinking today that actually if you see the bitterness that came into politics, the sheer vile and poisonous kind of debates, very poisonous kind of approach to each other, which was not earlier on, even during Indira's time, despite her being the leader of the emergency, etc., came after Sonia Gandhi came on the helm. This personal dislike, this personal poisonous comments, this personal hate is the hallmark after Sonia Gandhi's rise to power. That is what.
You have to understand, Advaita, today the Congress is rudderless. Here is the proprietor of a family-run enterprise trying to save that enterprise. She will save the enterprise only in two ways. Number one, by saying that, look, the country that the enterprise helped create or helped form or give independence and rule forever after that is in danger because of this one particular man. The second is by creating a fear psychosis through the so-called liberal media. I've told you this on your show before. There is no such thing as liberal or illiberal media. You're either intelligent or you're agenda-driven and stupid. I genuinely believe that the Congress is doing itself no service because everything that they're doing is not anti-Congress or anti-BJP. It is generally anti-India. And I don't want to use the phrase anti-national. It's anti-India. It goes against the grain of everything that India stands for. Justice Ramanna talks about, we're doing this, we're doing that, blah, blah, blah. But there is a pillar of justice. If these people have done no wrong, why are they afraid to be subjected to the justice system in India? To suggest that they are above the justice system is again pernicious and reeks of entitlement, misplaced as it may be. That's the real issue. The BJP has been very poor in communicating.
Suhel, but there is a counter argument because in our country, the process is the punishment, right? So even if it doesn't lead to anything, you go through the entire process of this kind of censure and cynosure, and it can be just as, devastating.
Narendra Modi also went through the same process. Narendra Modi also went through 2 decades of the same process. Again, you see, the process is good for Narendra Modi and not good for the others. Again, is something we seem to have internalized.
It can't be.
There's a problem with the process, no doubt about it. There's a problem with the process. But then this process is not a bequest by the BJP to the government, to the nation. It's always been there. We need to do something about it, no doubt about it.
No one is calling them out. No one is calling them out. I've not read one considered view in the media which says the Gandhis need a reality check, you don't own India. You may have, you don't any longer. I've said this before on your show and other shows. People don't even remember Indira Gandhi, the young of today. So even that whole thing of, the sacrifices she made, blah, blah, are irrelevant to people. But I have to say the BJP is also poor in its communication. The BJP allows itself to come into a fight between Narendra Modi and Rahul Gandhi. You tell me, what is the comparison today, other than the surname? He has a minuscule number of MPs in the Lok Sabha, minuscule number of MPs in the Rajya Sabha. What exactly is the comparison between these two that the party allows these two to have a face-off?
I think the party wants this face off. It just
Yeah,
makes Modi look so much
absolutely.
more better. I'm sure
Yeah.
BJP is not so silly. I think BJP is pretty astute and shrewd. Of late, you have to understand. I mean, I do understand that. I don't think they're so stupid enough to hold press conferences after press conference on everything that Rahul Gandhi says. They do it because they want him to look silly.
Yeah.
And he emerges as looking that. So it suits the BJP because it just makes the Prime Minister look so much more better. It makes the BJP
Yeah.
look so much more better by the Congress than the Congress. Yeah.
Yeah.
Advaita,
I want to bring in two issues out here.
Allows himself
Okay,
to
quick,
get
quick,
spun.
short interventions,
way-
please.
even
So
you,
the way-
viewers are saying Sandip Ghosh is not allowed to speak.
Someone is saying, I think, is this
Why
a
is-
bot? Praveen Nair?
Why is
Is he your
victimhood
friend?
so prevalent
Sandeep ko
on this
bolne
panel?
do.
Like everybody is
No.
a victim. My God,
Sandeep
give
ji ko
Sandeep
bolne
half a
do.
star. I'm
Yeah,
a
yeah,
poor
yeah.
retired man.
Praveen uska
You
dost
give
hai.
Arey Advaita, Sandip ji ko bolne do, yeah. Stop playing victim. Nobody
No,
has any
he's
sympathy
always
for
playing
you. Sandeep ji
victim. I'm a
boliye.
poor retired man. Sob.
Yeah,
that is
poor
fine. That's
man.
okay.
He's not poor. I
Advaita Kala chup raho. Sandeep ji ko bolne do. Advaita Kala murdabad.
Yes.
हमें एक ही बात बोलना है. I don't know whether the rest of the eminent panel will agree with me or not. I think now all the escalation which you are seeing is reaching a crescendo, and it is reaching a crescendo in a very planned manner. And the key to that, some people, Ratanji and Tuliji, Rajivji might be able to say, the fact that now they are taking head on the two Gandhis with the ED and everything else, and simultaneously you see everywhere else they opened up several fronts, and they cannot be opening these so many fronts if those all become a damn squib at the end. So I think you are seeing this escalation. And going back to briefly to what you were talking of Jagmeet Dhankar, there again you will see, as Suhel and everybody said, he will throw the rule book. But the important thing is, after throwing the rule book, people are not going to step back. You will find that the rule book is carried through. So if there is, say, a 12-day suspension, they're not going to allow any pressure to build up. And Jagmeet Dhankar, as you said, will just sail through it in a Teflon-coated manner. So I think we are getting into a situation where one of the tweets I said, I think BJP has come to a stage when they're saying enough is enough, and now we will be on the front foot.
Yeah.
See, with
Two
Rahul
issues
Gandhi-
out here. Pallavi, I think I will bring two issues. One is the puzzle of Zubair. Who is he? But more
Yeah, this-
importantly, the conduct of Hamid Ansari, where he was president. And I think we have to be responsible about what we say. You see, this talk about the Pakistani spy ISI agent being on the same podium and Hamid Ansari, I think the photographs make it clear that was indeed the case. Now, why was this? I think, and I would be alarmed to be proved wrong, is that time we were the Indian nation, and this includes the BJP, were going through a woke phase where we thought, even ISI agents can be turned around if we basically bring them into our embrace. And I would like to believe that this is basically what happened when Hamid Ansari was giving this particular person a place on the podium. I believe he did so with the knowledge and acquiescence of the government of India. How did it turn out? It didn't turn out so well. Like so many other things which didn't turn out so well, like us, acquiescing to a statement where we actually said we were involved in Balochistan. So I think there are certain things that Hamid Ansari did, but he did that with the acquiescence and knowledge of the government of India, which went, of course, horribly wrong. This is something that needs investigation, whether this actually happened or not. But the puzzle of Zubair, who is he actually, is surprising. I would like to know something about Zubair. Who the hell is this guy?
No, but is this social media chatter, or is there any truth to this?
Look,
Who is
so
Zubair? Because
Zubair-
I've been reading all kinds of things.
So the police know everything that there is to know about Zubair. There is no more hidden commodity about him right now. The issue is he's been very smart with destroying the evidence. The problem with proving evidence destruction is You first have to prove that there was evidence, and then it was destroyed. This is the legal conundrum of proving a evidence destruction case, right? And the problem is that till they get the phone or manage to get into the laptop or whatever, they are not going to be able to prove that case. The one thing that they do have him on is FCRA. But other than that, on his history, they pretty much know everything, because the last I heard, they had written to all the employers, and the employers had written back validating that he had been working there and all of that.
Yeah.
This is not new. Remember, the question is, why do these phenomena arise all of a sudden? Okay, so why is it that Zubair was a nobody at one point of time, and who was the ecosystem that overnight turned him into a celebrity? And we see this over and over and over again, where suddenly Sheila Rashid is an absolute nobody. Who suddenly makes her a celebrity? Kanhaiya
she's
Kumar
back
is a nobody. Who the hell makes her a celebrity overnight? Okay, so why? Why is this celebrity? Somebody tried to make these two Ladida, Tweedledum and Tweedledee. What are their names? Ladida and Aisha. Same thing, Tweedledum, Tweedledee into
Okay.
Shiros. And that failed, right? So why have Tweedledum and Tweedledee failed? And why have this Sheila and Zubair succeeded? Now, if you go to Zubair's timeline, you see he is not a fact checker. His alt news, whatever he does may be fact checking, but his timeline is mostly outrage. This is hate, that is hate. He decontextualizes, he sensationalizes, and he presents something as being, a hate speech, even though in this particular case it was in response to somebody else and it was a verbatim quote. The question, like Pallavi brought up, is, how is it that Rahul manages to find the least resonating stuff to go after when there are more? Arey bhai, har cheez ka daam badh raha hai. Do you think the average person is more concerned about the price of carrots and tomatoes and petrol than he is about Zubair? All right, you've been given a winning card. Price rise is something to go after. No. You want to talk about Zubair? Everything is Zubair. I am Zubair. Who wrote I am Zubair today?
Chidambaram.
He's a very, very smart man. I can't for a moment believe that he has done this without the need to grandstand to Rahul Gandhi. And this is a problem that I keep hearing about Rahul Gandhi, is that he has this George Bush approach to life. You are either with me or against me. So understand where the Congress is coming from. They realize that in the next election, Tamil Nadu is gone because of the pendulumic nature of Tamil Nadu politics. That's 9 seats gone out there. Then Punjab is gone. So that's 8 seats gone out there, 17 seats out there. You're down to between 20 to 30 seats. God knows how many Rajya Sabha seats you'll get. So there is resource competition. Everybody is given up on the party. They want the what few Rajya Sabha seats or Lok Sabha seats that you can possibly win. They want it. And they realize the only way they can get it is sucking up to Rahul Gandhi and flattering his ego. And remember, this is exactly what happened in UPA too. What was that NAC, if not a sort of tribute to Rahul Gandhi's wokeness? It was all set up there because remember, Sonia Gandhi by herself is not what you would call a classic European social democrat. But she has brought up her son to be a classic European social democrat, talk about things that have zero relevance in India. He's in the framework of Europe. Second, I have to validate and contradict what Suhel said. Yes, the BJP PR is very bad. But you look at the first principles of the two PRs, it's managed very badly now. But you look at the first principles of the two PRs, the first principal mistake that the Congress made was to show Narendra Modi as Darth Vader. Now, anybody who has watched Star Wars will tell you that everybody is rooting for Darth Vader. Darth Vader is this,
I love Darth Vader.
Yeah. Whereas the BJP, the first principles correct thing that they did is they did not turn Rahul Gandhi into Luke Skywalker. they turned Rahul Gandhi into 3PO or a Wookiee. What's his name?
Chewbacca.
Who the hell
But they
will
should
vote for?
have done R2B2 or whatever he
So
was. Remember?
It's not Darth Vader versus Luke Skywalker, even though Rahul thinks he's Luke Skywalker. It is Darth Vader versus a clown. And in that kind of a situation, Darth Vader is always going to win. It doesn't matter how many Jedis he kills. So you see, this is the second problem out there. The third is we have to understand the caliber of difference. And this is where I agree with what Pallavi and Sandip and Dipankar said, which is that, Beethoven, I'm sorry to get crude, but I'm not saying this. Beethoven used to say this to other composers like Haydn and people like that who operated in his time. My farts are better than your symphonies. So, the thing here is the kind of master communicator that Modi himself is. And yes, Modi does compensate for a lot of the clumsiness that his PR department does. He is able to connect with people in a way where imagine Rahul is making, when he says Alu, Sona, he's actually making fun of Modi.
You want to do that again? We haven't seen it in a while. Can you do that again? We put you full screen.
Sona, Alu, Sona. So, Modi,
thank you.
What does he do? He clips that and makes it about Rahul Gandhi. And nobody has the guts to tell Rahul, please don't do this again. He is not willing to accept checks and balances. And I remember Pallavi didn't say this today. She had said this sometime back in a program, I think on News 18. Where, she was saying that this pattern where he doesn't want the old fogies telling him what to do in the Congress is a basic rejection of any form of checks and balances on his eccentricities and a refusal to accept any kind of accountability. Look at what he said after the 2019 election defeat in the CWC. He was completely unapologetic. He, on the one hand, took the blame. On the other, he rejected blame, saying, we lost because you did not repeat Chaukidar Chor. And I can honestly tell you, I would have been thrilled because I
thought that was working.
Yeah, he actually thought that was
working.
Well, he thought it was working. Pallavi can tell you he thought it was working. But, the thing there was, at what point, I would have been very happy because I was at the thick of the Rafale discussions. Mera to dhanda bahut khil ke uthta agar Rafale chalte rehta. But I'm happy it is no longer this. But the person who is less happy than me that it is no longer an issue seems to be Rahul Gandhi, who wasn't even making sense on the issue to begin with. Right? So there is listen, at what point do they start introspecting about themselves? He wants to change everyone and everything, but he's not willing to see a fault within himself. For somebody who claims to be so well versed with Mahatma Gandhi, he's the exact opposite of Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi, if Quit India failed, if this failed, if that failed, he would see the fault in himself and he would start his experiments with the truth. Rahul Gandhi does not do that. Every time Rahul Gandhi fails, he wants everybody else to do experiments with the truth. But as far as he is concerned, he is Satyavadi Harish Chandra or what? Yamraj ka kya hai? Satya, nahi. What is Yamraj ka? Is something, the ultimate truth, some avatar, no?
They're all asleep now.
Oh, sorry. So, it is a
personality.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you remember, na? It was Darth Vader who killed the Emperor.
Yes.
So Darth Vader can kill the Empress as well.
So what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say?
Nothing.
Sending WhatsApp messages. Thank you very much.
I'm just if you could kill the Empress, get rid of the Empress as well. Who knows?
God,
in 1 or 2
someone
years
who's
it may
actually
happen.
saying Abhijit is secretly a fan of Rahul Gandhi. Abhijit, after all that thing you've been going on and on, this is what
after you made us sleep for the last 5 minutes on your Rahul Gandhi dissertation.
Listen, I may be a secret fan of Rahul Gandhi, but I can tell you what is confirmed. Narendra Modi is the biggest funder and promoter of Rahul Gandhi. Nobody is happier that Rahul Gandhi is at the helm of the Congress than Narendra Modi. And I can honestly tell you, every time I meet a BJP leader in a temple, I asked them, आप इसके लिए अभिषेक करके आए हो, आरती करके आए हो कि राहुल भाई 100 साल जी? There isn't a single BJP leader who does not pray for the long life of Rahul Gandhi, because this is like Harry Potter. As long as one lives, the other cannot survive, kind of thing. As long as Rahul Gandhi lives, he's like that. What is it called? The life that he breaks, and Horcrux. Rahul Gandhi is the Horcrux. Narendra Modi placed the Horcrux inside Rahul Gandhi. So as long as Rahul Gandhi is Congress president, Narendra Modi will be prime minister.
By the way, someone was asking if he's back from wherever he's gone now.
No, tonight.
Where is he
Barcelona.
gone, Pallavi?
Barcelona.
Spain.
Yeah.
Why is he gone there? Holiday.
God knows. Yeah,
Why not? I
think
mean,
so.
Barcelona is a nice place to visit.
I have to say,
I love
we
the
keep
six-pack.
discussing Rahul Gandhi, and then we also keep saying how irrelevant he is. Actually, we continue to make him relevant in order that he becomes irrelevant. So it's ironic. He's not interested. You can make out he's not interested. His heart isn't in the job.
But he won't let go.
Why doesn't he give up the job then?
Yeah.
It's the mother. It's the mother's love. It's a mother's love.
Pallavi,
I
you're not
have.
allowed to bring during the
I
show.
don't think
That's why
you should just
Prashant
say it on
Kishore was
Sonia
shown the
Gandhi.
door. Why do you
I
think
don't think
Prashant
it's only
Kishore was
about
shown the
Sonia
door?
Gandhi. I think there was a point of time where perhaps Rahul Gandhi was reluctant, but now I think he's loving it. See, if I have a job where I'm not held responsible for anything, but I'm extremely powerful, the entire party, Ji Hazuri, how are you? You're having endless discussions. I wish I had a job like that. I mean, imagine Abhijit being nice to me. Every time he sees me saying, Pallavi, you're great, you're superb. Sandip saying the same thing about me. And even that obnoxious
पल्लवी जी, मैं हमेशा आपकी पूजन करता हूँ. आप जाट हृदय संवादी हैं. आप खप पंचायत की खलनायिका
It's
हैं.
8:15 p.m.
आप हरियाणा की साक्षात महारानी हैं.
But that's exactly the job you have, Pallavi. Now we see you only talking to taxi drivers and going out on dinners.
She's
with
a younger version of Kaushik
Sandip.
Basu. She's a younger version of Kaushik Basu.
Sandip, you're a fair one to say that. You're the one who keeps on tweeting about your Jeev who wants to open a restaurant or something. Where Champaran mein? I mean, who wants to know that, yeah?
Not Champaran, Sitamarhi. You have to
Or
read his
Sitamarhi,
tweets and remember. See, that's the difference.
So are we heading into a far more aggressive, nastier time in politics? Of course, I know 2024 is round the corner, but the actions that have been taken and the selections that have
Actually,
been
can I
made.
tell you, and I have
Sure.
to say this and leave. I have to tell you, you're going to see a very different Narendra Modi. You're going to see a calmer, a more willing to be inclusive. I'm telling you, you're going to see a calmer, a more willing to be inclusive, a more willing to carry everyone along kind of person. And you know why? 2024, when he wins, will be perhaps his last election. I don't know if midterm he will give up, as he has said, at 75. This is the time for him to build on legacy, to soften the edges, as it were, to tell people that, look, whatever I did for the country. I heaped a lot of abuse was heaped on me, but it's not fair. So there will be a softer, a more inclusive human being that you will see. He will let the others do whatever they have to do. And I think that's what we're seeing. So I don't see a nastier. I see a more pernicious, more ruthless, but under the radar kind of activity. But I don't see.
Do you think, Sandip and Rajiv Tuli ji, do you think this has come with a certain maturity? Because let's make no mistake, the Congress was very ruthless as well. In fact, some would argue the Congress was much more ruthless because they had so many years of uninterrupted power, but they were more sophisticated and had a better control of the narrative and the media. So, Sandeep and then Rajiv ji, just to...
See, I agree with Suhel. You see, Narendra Modi is a person who'd like to leave a mark on history. And he is not going to, therefore, allow that. He has, therefore, whether for his image or whatever, legacy he wants to leave behind in his work. I think he is, to that extent, a man driven by a mission. He doesn't have to really ensure a dynasty or anything else. All that he has to care for is that he, is really fettered in history, and whatever the negativity which was there, he corrects that before he hands over charge. But the other bit, I think that is part of the whole thing. Why he will really now, everybody has been saying, first 5 year term, why didn't he go after any of these guys? Why didn't he nail? It was also, I think, very well timed, although he had promised. So now you will see some hard action, which will, in the process, also redeem his reputation. That I have been wrong so far, but you have been really celebrating these guys, but this is the real story about them. And that Suhel says he'll do it very clearly. He has got other people to do that job for him. And Amit Shah can get whatever flack he needs to. Modi will, as you see, yesterday, all these things happening here, he was inaugurating the Bundelkhand, expressway and making very valid points, and वहाँ पे भी डाल के आ गया कि रेवड़ी बांटना and all that, so whatever points he needs to make, he's making, and he goes away. His agenda is very clear. And so that's what I see. But what I was telling earlier, just to repeat, I think a lot of these actions, they would not open those fronts if they think those are going to fizzle out, because that will be a huge loss of credibility. So you will see some of these things fructifying. And one of the, again, I'll be a little indiscreet, why some of the things, charges against which people are being actually arrested, etc., because those are the easiest one to prove. Other things, can, as you are saying, get dragged on. So this is, you pick him up on a 2018 tweet, but the, the nishana kahin aur hai.
So, Rajiv ji, heading into Modi 3.0, are we going to see this sort of, like Suhel is saying, much more action, much more sort of rooting out, much more exposure? What I'm also seeing is that there is this exposure that is happening of people, of agendas, of arrangements, which was not happening earlier. Like, people were still continuing, and Abhijit was someone who used to keep kind of going on about that nothing happens, nothing moves. Now we're seeing, of course, movement, but we're also seeing things getting exposed in a way that would have been unthinkable even 2 years ago.
One thing is that I don't think Modi will retire at 75. There are always
so either, yeah.
There are always exceptions to the rules, and I think retirement kab lena, he is the only one who is doing. Point number one. Point number two is, I think whatever is happening is a natural unfoldment of the things. So for first 5 years, probably it was time for them to make bureaucracy and the people around believe that they are in power. Second year, they did second term, they did 370, they did triple talaq, they did a lot of certain other things also, and probably if 3.0 happens, so there will be a lot more things coming up with the in the way of total annihilation of Congress. Maybe that after 2024 they are given a safe passage out of the country, or maybe that they are given a good retirement, and there are a lot of other things on the agenda which are there to be completed in the next tenure. If that happens, I spoke a couple of months back on your same program that अभी एक जो अखंड भारत वाला एजेंडा अभी पेंडिंग है, तो अभी वो हो सकता है कि 2024 के बाद that too happens, and a lot of other things that have to come. But yes, for sure, Congress minus the Gandhis is what the BJP and the country needs. Maybe that after 2024 we will see a new Congress, that too without the Gandhis.
After 2024, we will see a new Congress. outside of the Gandhis. That is the prediction from Rajiv Tuli ji on this Sunday club, and we're on the about to wrap up. We've already got hitting 1.5 hours. I'm so happy that we're back. Suhel is gone. Phew, that was good and that was quick. Last question, Pallavi. Let's just ask you. Do you think it's possible that post 2024, what Rajiv ji has said, that we'll see a Congress without the Gandhis?
I think so. I think it's highly likely because see, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, also possibly Karnataka, they're going to lose one election after another. And how long can you be nice to a person? At some point of time, they're going to start saying, ki, bhai, kyun, kab tak? And I know there are lots of people who are already waiting. They need a political future. I was at this book release yesterday where I was seeing Sachin Padan sitting on stage. He's so nuanced. He's such an ace when it comes to answering or dodging questions. I'm sure at some point in time he must be thinking, why am I here and for how long? So I think 2024 will see a lot of changes. We'll see I agree with Suhel completely. That's exactly what I'd written also last week. And of course, a new Congress, if it's going to be the same Congress at all. I mean, it'll be a minus Gandhi thing.
So, well, everybody,
wake
thank
up,
you so
Abhijit,
much.
Wake up.
Abhijit, let's give the last word to Abhijit because he's been so good.
Well behaved. Well behaved today.
He's been well behaved.
What would you like to hear from me about?
No, I mean,
Before you say,
nothing actually.
But it's
Actually,
I want to ask you, Advaita,
I have two
why
sentences.
didn't we discuss Sushmita Sen and Lalit Modi? That's breaking the neck.
Because we didn't want to break Sandip's heart.
Once again, two statements. Two short sentences.
She will not even
Yes,
look
Caesar.
at any of you.
Once again, two short sentences. ये सीजर कुत्तों का नाम होता है, by the way. Number one. And number two, on a more.
सबसे बड़ा सम्राट है वही सब सम्राट गुलोड़ा अपना नाम सिजोर रखता है कोई रशिया का नाम सिजोर रखता है कोई जर्मनी का सिजोर अपना नाम सिजोर रखता है और तुम हमारे को कुत्ता बुलाता है आप हमारे कुत्ता बोलेছেন আমি I am not the vocalist कुत्ता আপনি একটা vocalist कुत्ता
अरे यार मैंने तुम्हें कुत्ता कब कहा मैंने कहा कुत्तों का नाम सीधे बताया यार एक
I think he just auditioned for West Bengal governor.
Abhijit for West Bengal governor.
Yes.
Yeah, but Advaita, tell me, how long is the show tonight? Are you going to take your revenge for all the shows that you've been missing?
You were the one who was begging me, please do it for 2 hours. I've really missed it. Nobody is paying me any attention.
I didn't see any message. Show me the message.
You were the one
show me the message.
Oye, not 2 hours. I have to now start preparing dinner. Chodo yaar, 2 hours.
For your wife? This is good. This is good. I approve.
It's a joint effort. I bring the dishes and she prepares the stuff.
That you have to leave to prepare dinner.
Remember one thing.
The second statement
he's a Bengali husband. He's a Bengali husband. They are handpicked at birth.
Bengalis make the best husbands, by the way, I think. Personally.
That's why they are handpicked at birth.
That's why.
They are handpicked at birth.
They make the best
final. Because you gave me the last word. This is going to be the last word. There's going to be no rebuttal or comeback. I finally, when Advaita Kala was in Ghaziabad, I went and checked out her new XUV 700. It turns out it is a bullock cart, Bell Gadi, that she has named XUV 700. Bas. Aur kuch nahi hai.
What nonsense.
I think
and
we
the
really
bullets,
have
and the bullets.
the Scorpio. We have to discuss the Scorpio because while I've been traveling, this summer, I believe the Scorpio has launched in India.
Oh,
what's happening? Ratan Sharda is back.
I went out and had my gossip with India today, so I'm back.
Did they let you?
I thought that was a news channel. Aaj ye bhi revelation aa gayi. I had my gossip with India today. Kamal hai bhai.
Sunday is the day when you simply. What can you do on Sunday?
But
surprisingly,
Congress doesn't listen.
move to Ajtak, which is like
See,
quite interesting.
problem with Congress
Yeah,
doesn't move its
Ratanji,
seat to need serious discussion. That's why it ends up just being repeating the same things. That is the
but
problem with
Ratanji, you should not do this multitasking without taking names. One a very celebrated lawyer was doing that. He was appearing in 3 courts simultaneously on the net. He didn't realize he put down one laptop on the ground while he was arguing another case, and then we all know what happened.
Yeah.
No, I'm cautious about her dress.
But it's been a pleasure to reunite with such ignited minds, with apologies to Dr. Kalam. And it's really remarkable. And for the first time, we've seen an immobile Pallavi Ghosh as well, which is unique. Obviously, the taxi drivers are also fed up of her. I mean, are fed up of her. It also is irrelevant. And we pay our commiseration.
That's what you think.
To Dipankar on his recent marriage.
Yes, commiserations.
Yes.
And we hope it'll be like his lessons, that they will lesson from lesson to lesson, as Alice in Wonderland said.
Post-marriage, Dipankar, for the first time I've heard this, I've got to leave the Sunday club.
No, for the first time I've seen him smiling, but that too shall pass.
You know?
Not smiling, you're laughing away.
For the first time he's smiling, but as I said, that too shall pass.
Suhel ji, after marriage, somebody
I'm laughing at your company, yaar. You know, I've starved of your company. To be in your company is such a pleasure, yaar.
Come. Thank you.
Satya Saran is so right. Well, we don't know what's wrong with Kohli. Okay, guys.
You can ask a couple of questions, but
Tata, Vande Mataram. Tata, bye.
Hey, Bankar.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, people are still here. I'm so always surprised how people stick around even when we start getting inane and talking nonsense.
Yeah,
Like,
as long as
yeah.
this is live, they will stick around. Now, end it now, yaar. Kya karte ho?
हाँ, end it करो. जल्दी का end करो.
Okay,
Ji,
bye.